Hey, we are excited to host Dtour.life once again and their CEO, Storey Jones, for a webinar exclusive to the members of Divorceify's professional community. Just so I let everyone know up front, of course, I'm Casey. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Divorceify. I'm very, very, very excited to present this new innovative technology to all of you. You've maybe heard of Dtour.life before, but you're not totally sure how it functions or whether it'd be easy to incorporate into your practice. I'm here to tell you it functions great. It would be easy to incorporate into your practice. And if I were taking new clients right now, this would be the first thing I'd be having them sign up for to work with me. So very, very excited to bring this to you today. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Storey, give you a little bit of her background, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. She's going to do a little demo of the tech. We are recording today's webinar. I had a lot of people tell me that they wanted to watch the recording on their own time. So I'm going to be emailing that out to our community probably next week. And everybody will be able to get in touch with Storey. I'll send out her contact details. And if they have questions or they want a further, more in-depth demo, I think Storey can arrange that with you. So Storey Jones is the founder and CEO of Dtour.life. She is a divorce survivor herself, and she is now thriving in her life after divorce. Storey's own divorce was highly complex. It took 7 years in a legal quagmire that included every emotional and financial challenge a divorce can throw at a person, including a high conflict custody battle. So Storey's really been through it. Her incredibly painful divorce experience gave her a really new purpose and lease on life. She recognized the glaring chasm between the human experience of divorce and the legal system. She developed a new business model as a divorce consultant to assist men and women in becoming more informed, prepared, and supported as they navigate their own unique divorce process. She also worked closely with divorce legal teams to help their clients be better prepared participants in their own divorce. And if you ever worked with a divorce consultant or coach as a member of your team, I think you have become very aware of how positive of an influence these professionals can be, really helping your clients stay focused, on track, and lessening sort of the emotional burden on you, where you really get to apply your legal mind to the issues in the case. And I think that that's been really great. Plus, a lot of our pros have experienced in the last few years as consultants and coaches become more popular. So Storey is probably a great person to ask about that kind of work as well. After 12 years as a divorce consultant in the San Francisco Bay Area, Storey leveraged that experience to build what is now Dtour.life, which brings innovation and technology to an outdated divorce system. Dtour.life isn't a software you download onto your computer. It's a platform, a web-based platform you sign into. It's a place where you and your clients and other professionals on the team can all collaborate together seamlessly. This saves your clients a ton of time, saves you a huge organizational burden. It has bank level security. It is really well organized. You can have the peace of mind that your client's data is protected and that everything is stored in one place for really easy access for everybody. So it saves everybody a ton of time, money, and headache. It is a value add to your practice for sure. So Storey is going to tell you all about the different functions, how you can use it. And if you have a question that comes up while you're watching, you can submit that via the chat, or you can ask me to turn on your microphone towards the end of the session and you can pipe up and ask a question then. Without further ado, Storey, please go ahead and take over.
Casey, I think you ought to do the demo. You did such an incredible job articulating back this platform. I'm really thrilled. Thank you.
Well, I'm a super fan, so I'm happy to do it.
I really appreciate that. Coming from a family law attorney, I really appreciate that. So I am going to share my screen and run through a demo. Before I do that, I thought I would just, although Casey did such a great job, it would be a little bit redundant, but I just wanted to address kind of why we did build this and really what value does it add to your day-to-day practice. And I think, honestly, it comes down to 2 words: pain points. It's hard to think of a business workflow that has more pain points than the process of divorce. And it's for the clients as well as professionals. So I think it was all those years of working as such an advocate for clients and being very connected to that human experience of what they go through and the workload actually to participate. during such a difficult time. But also the day-to-day professional experience it's so difficult to get what you need from clients in any kind of a manageable format in order to do the job you really are hired to do. And the inefficiency of family law is something we all complain about, we all talk about, and we are all trying to find ways to streamline our practices. So that is really the crux of what Dtour.life is about. It's about streamlining the efficiency, bringing humanity for your client experience, as well as humanity for your experience and your team and staff and the team at large. One of the key attributes of this platform is we've really designed it to be incredibly flexible. And that is difficult to do in this industry because no one professional practices in the same way. Everyone has a different way of managing their business. And as Casey mentioned, we're big believers in divorce coaches. And I'm sure the audience today there are coaches and divorce financial experts and traditional lawyers and collaborative lawyers and I'm sure mediators. And everyone has a different way of working. And so this platform is designed very much to facilitate the entire team model and work together seamlessly, securely, as Casey mentioned, in a way that really supports this team model that is very much the way the industry has evolved. So let me share my screen to support that, to really follow through on our commitment to address client needs and professional needs. We've designed the platform with what we describe as 2 front doors. So your clients have one experience that really supports their needs to provide you with data. And we have a get to work for professionals. So I'm going to start with that. So Casey, you've enabled me, I assume, as a host.
Yes, I have. You should be able to do screen sharing. Yep. Okay.
Terrific. Okay. So tell me if you are seeing my case list here, my cases. Is it
yes, I can see them. Yep.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to, sometimes with Zoom, I need to zoom in a little bit, no pun intended, to make it a little bit easier to see. So when a professional logs in, they come to a professional case list. And this basically represents, these are all fictitious cases. So we represent them as case cards, but certainly you can view them alphabetically if that suits you. Now, going through for the time that we have allotted and to allow for questions at the end, et cetera, what I'm going to do today is just focus on high-level features. This is really not meant to be a tutorial. There's so much more that I would love to show you about how things work, but we don't have that time. However, if anyone is interested in a more in-depth tutorial/demo, please reach out to me and Casey will provide my contact information. But essentially here we have our case list. So the wonderful thing is, if you think about it as your file drawer, I'm just going to click on a client's file. And in one click, I am now in a dashboard. I'm in my client's case. So my fictitious name for this demo is Arlene, so that you would see your name here. And what we've done is one of all the pain points that we've addressed, one by one, we have addressed them here. The first being, everybody on the team is looking at the same data real time. One of the complaints I had as a consultant was all of the emails and the PDFs and the outdated data and documents. It just drives everybody crazy. So here, anybody on the team is looking at this client's data real time. So over on the left, here are all the key features. This dashboard helps the client deconstruct the components of divorce. So we all know it's comprised of names and dates and children and background information, the inflows and outflows, the assets and debts for property distribution, and then if you have children, parenting plans. So it's very visual. It's highly refined user experience. We believe that lawyers, just because you have a law degree or any of the professional certification, it doesn't mean you dream and fantasize of Excel spreadsheets. We like to bring all of the data to life for everybody involved. So if I click family, for every spouse, I have a page of data. I have a page on the marriage, a page on the children, and basically everything aggregates to the first key feature I'll show you, which is the case profile. And what we love about this is with one click, you have all the facts at your fingertips. So you have the data around the marriage, the length of marriage, the dates, the place. You have all of the information about the case jurisdiction. You have information about the 2 spouses, ages. You have contact information, where they're living. You have, very importantly, their employment and salary information, the very high level, education for any legal forms, military service for legal forms, tax filing status. If there's a former marriage, we capture all of that data. So at a glance, you can see that. And then we have the children represented. In this particular case, they have 3 children. If there were children from a former marriage, that would be listed separately. And then we have the relationship details. So all of this data aggregates. And then if you go to each individual page, you'll get a little more of the data. For instance, social security numbers, if you need that. If the spouse wants to restore their name to their former name, you have that information. A little bit more granular data on each spouse. And then if I click on children, I'll see each of the 3 children represented. And then again, a little more data about each of the children. So,
Storey, if I could interject with
yes.
just a question. So let's say you have a client come to your office for like an initial consultation, or I guess these days by Zoom. You're always taking a ton of notes, right? You don't want, this person might not come back to you for 3 months, 6 months to actually hire you for the representation. And I always found that, I would store a page of notes somewhere so that when that person called again, I could pull it up and make them feel really cared for by being like, okay, I remember you got married in such and such time, and this is what's going on for you, and update me as to what's changed. This seems like a way to store notes for clients that come through and they're just shopping. Could professionals use this to create a case sheet, for any potential client that comes through their door, and then store it for later?
It's such a good question. I'm glad you stopped me. This case profile operates on so many different levels. And when I mentioned early on that we designed this to meet kind of everyone's needs and be as flexible as possible, that highlights one of exactly that. So some clients, when they get a call for a consult and they've done a conflict check, they will actually send a link to Dtour.life to the client. I'll show you in a minute how this data gets in here. But then the prospective client answers questions, and in 5 minutes, the key data is presented. So before that client even walks in the door, you can click the case card, open up this case profile, and we all know professionals need what? Something like 5 data points, length of marriage, age, income level, children, net worth, just key data. And that really helps professionals actually close the deal, so to speak, have a much more effective and efficient consult. And truly, nothing is more frustrating for a client than spending an hour with 3 different attorneys, giving them the same information and walking out with no value, but they've written 3 big checks. So that's one way professionals love using it. They get the data in advance. We have a lot of clients sign up, and before they've met with an attorney, they will send a link to once they've done the conflict check, and they will actually initiate. And I'm finding that professionals are, wow, I have all of this at my fingertips instantaneously. So for that initial consult, it's fantastic. We built this in so many layers. And so what's also great is, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, God forbid, 18 months down the line, all of the layers of information start being added. And then with one click, you can be at court. If we ever go back to court, you can be in your office, you can be home. You can access all of that data. And, I'm talking to professionals here, right? We've all been in the offices. We've seen the paperwork, cascading off the shelves. And this is just a way of bringing all of that to the digital life.
I love it.
That's exactly right about the case profile. So let me move on to other key features. The assets and debts. I mentioned earlier about Excel spreadsheets. I don't know a single client. I don't care how successful they are, how educated they are, and how successful professionally they are. When you're going through a divorce, it's very, very difficult. And it's really kind of soul crushing to look at your world on an Excel spreadsheet. I also find for professionals, it's difficult to make sense of it. And I think there's a lot of inaccuracies and different versions of Excel spreadsheets going around. So we have adopted a very visual experience for assets and debts. So basically, the assets, we've adopted a 3-tiered system. So to Casey's point, in the beginning of a case, whether you're just consulting or whether you've been retained, the key is, what have they got, right? So we've maintained this card motif. Sometimes it's hard to see in Zoom, but these are all clickable cards. And you say, okay, they've got a couple of homes, they've got a couple of cars. Oh, great, there's some investment accounts. We've got some retirement. We have life insurance. So it gives you an overview. It's great for the professional to just get a feel for the case. It's also great for the client, frankly, to have more connection with what they have. And hopefully there's a lot more green on the page than red, business, assets, etc. We do the same thing with debts. So here there is a little bit of red. They've got some credit card debt, some loan debt, just gives you kind of the summary of the case. But then what's great about the system is that if you click any of these cards, behind it is all the detail. And Casey knows as well as anyone, it's the detail that really kind of catches you in the process of a case. You know, sometimes we forget about who's on title. Sometimes we forget about the carrying costs for the property. Often a spouse will want to purchase a property, but no one's thinking about the cash required to carry it. We have the mortgage information. We have information about separate property contributions, whether it was capital improvement or purchase down payment, etc. And then any of the documentation that's attached. So for instance, for this property, we have an appraisal and we have some expenses that have been itemized. I'll show you more about attachments in a minute. So again, we go from a summary card to a detail page, and then all of that data flows into a net worth report. And in this case, I should point out, mediators love this platform because often in a case, the biggest sticking points are the value of a main asset like a home or a business. So we've actually created a visual that says, hey, wait a minute, there's a disagreement here, and we actually provide the two values for the two spouses. So in this case, for this property, we actually can't give you a net worth because we have to agree to this. And it may be we have to do an updated appraisal. It may be we negotiate a value, but that is what that signifies. Separately, again, here we pull in all of the assets and then the debts and then retirement separately and any footnotes. So that is the asset and debt pathway. We also do bring all of this data into a marital estate worksheet. I have a lot of users who tell me they just love this because it allows them to do kind of a back of the napkin, if you will, kind of look or in different versions of allocating either funds or percentages to each spouse, and you see how that pans out. And then as you can see, you can create multiple versions of it. So before I go on, Casey, any questions? Just trying to be efficient with time, just to give everybody an overview.
I think this looks good.
Terrific. Okay. Then income and expenses. Now, I think it's safe to say that the income and expenses are the bane of everyone's existence because shockingly, nobody really knows all sources of income. It's never in one place. But most importantly, what's going out, where the money's going. And, a lot of what we're trying to do at Dtour.life is streamline and make efficient and really help clients be more empowered. And there's so much fear in divorce that obviously contributes to so much of the adversity. So one of the reasons all of this is so visual is really to take the sting out and frankly, manage expectations, deal with facts. So our income is very straightforward. We have one spouse's income here, and we have all the different categories. And unemployment is probably going to crop up a lot more in the next year or two. Mm-hmm. We have the other spouse's income, and then joint if they have a business. And again, very visual, very easy for a spouse to come in and input, and of course, easy for a professional to adjust if there are any errors. It's very much a collaborative tool. Then expenses I'm excited about because we have two ways to capture expenses. We know that right now we ask clients to fill out 3 inches of paperwork from the court with all the categories of what they spend. And we all know that it is never very accurate and never very complete. And it's a very frustrating part of the process. And if you're trying to establish marital standard of living or really understand add-ons for children, etc., it's a very important part. And so what we've done is we have a manual ability and a sync ability, which is obviously ideal. So again, very visual. This is simply replicating the paper-based, but it's visual and digital, so you can update it easily. But just to give you an example, for instance, let's assume that they have a gym membership. You just click add expense. I'll just type in gym to be quick. Let's just say it's $100 a month. It's a joint expense. And then that's it. That's saved. And now we have $100 for the gym. Let's say that what I'm really excited about this detail, and this is something we spent a lot of time on. Let's just say, I'm going to make this up. We have expenses for the children, and allocating, understanding what we're spending on our children is important. So for instance, let's just say that we've had to buy new computers for the kids. And so I'm just going to, again, for quick purposes here, of course, I can't type and talk at the same time. And let's say that we spent, several $1,000s. So I'm just going to put we break down into the monthly cost. But the wonderful thing here is I can associate this with the children. I can say, well, I had to buy a new computer for Isabel. And so that way we can track all of the expenses for each child. And we have found financial experts and everybody involved has really loved that feature, which I'll show in a second. And then
this is particularly great for special needs families who are trying to document the many, many, many different expenses that can be associated with a child with special needs. And I see there's a little plot there where you can upload a relevant document. So
yes.
In like a contentious case where you need to have receipts attached to every single documented expense, and your client literally brings in like a basket of receipts, like this is, you can get those right in there. And then you don't have to be holding on to those paper copies.
Exactly. I find in divorce, the granular level sometimes gets missed. And it's also what contributes to so much anxiety and, again, adversity. I think if we can see, one of the reasons this is so visual, and a lot of mediators love this, and of course, it's just, with the pandemic, everything is through Zoom. You can share the screen. So it can be two spouses in a mediated case. It can be one client working with their attorney, really looking at all of this and making sense of it. And rather than where's all the money or I need more, we can actually look and see where the dollars are going. So when someone's talking about a support calculation and it's $3,000 a month in child support, but you're spending $2,700 a month on child expenses, you can see where the money's going. So it helps make more informed conversation and hopefully productive settlement discussions.
Right.
For the sync, which we love, and this is a big deal to build this for divorce. The sync technology exists in other financial technology, absolutely, but we have mapped this to the divorce categories, which are pretty standard across the counties and the states. And because clients have such a hard time getting all their data together, and professionals have to chase you down for every bank statement, 3 months later, 4 months later, this actually eliminates all of that. So what a client does is they come on and they just link their account. This is very, very well known and well-respected technology called Plaid. You look for your bank or credit card. Let's just say you have an account at Bank of America. When you log on here, you're logging on to the bank. So nobody sees your credentials. Dtour.life doesn't see it. Your professionals don't see it. And the great thing is you do it one time. And anytime your professional comes in and clicks transactions, they are getting up to the minute data. Here is January 25th. So no more chasing for and updating data. You can actually do it. It's amazing. Wow. And very, very secure. It's a bank level encryption and all of that. And the same thing with this technology is you can take this and say, well, this was mapped to vacations because it was an airline, but actually that was a business expense. So I can associate it with the business. Or I could say, well, no, that wasn't a vacation. That was actually taking my child to camp. So I really want to associate it with Seth because that was a trip to a soccer camp. So you can, again, apply this granular detail to this. All of this can be downloaded to a CSV. All of these accounts can be filtered, so you can just track the movement in and out of particular accounts, et cetera. So it's a fantastic tool. And then this data also blends into what we call our income and expense report. And we're so excited about this because, again, it's very robust. You could just view this with the manual entry. You could just view it with sync data. And the key with sync data is its primary source, uneditable. So you can't say, oh, I spent $5,000 a month on, X, Y, and Z. It's actual data from the bank that can't be changed. Or it's a blended report. It might be your spouse has linked their accounts, but they don't have access to their spouse's accounts. but they know the mortgage comes out of his account or her account, or they know a credit card is paid. So they can manually enter data and link their accounts so we have a blended view. So this is all fictitious data, so the numbers are always nutty, ignore that. But the idea is you have a summary, you can view it by month, you have color. This is where you can really look with clients to see exactly what is happening in this family. And then here at the bottom, this shows that it was synced. So this is real data. This shows it was manually entered. And then down here is where we have by month what we spend on Isabel, by month what we spend on Seth and Sarah. And so again, it's great information.
And this is, I mean, this is to me, so having battled with clients over creating the budget and spending hours on that. Look, I think there's very few of us who have ever really made a truly accurate budget based on what we spend in our day-to-day life. Exactly. And when clients are presented with divorce, this is like a really necessary part of the process, especially if you're going through court. And getting it to be factually correct is, you know, the attorney's duty, really, if it's being presented to the court. And so that can be pretty tricky between the client and the attorney often. And I think this makes that a lot more of a seamless process. And if you have a client who's upset about how high their bill is during this phase of discovery, you can easily say like, hey, why don't you take over categorizing expenses, labeling things, and it's very user-friendly, and they can go in and do the first pass, and then you're really doing high-level review instead of charging them for finding every transaction that happened at an ATM versus, you know, the gym membership fee, et cetera.
I think you raised a really important point, Casey. You know, the truth is, it's all these, it's hundreds, if not thousands of PDFs of bank statements with all the multiple accounts. And a lot of times it is manual highlighting to kind of figure out what's going on. And the truth is, I know I've talked to so many professionals over the years, even if they wanted to bill for the actual amount of time that takes, they can't.
Yes.
You
yes,
can't
we're often writing off our time in this
all that
phase
time.
Of the, yes.
That's right. And I think we're at a very important intersection where clients are getting younger and younger, and they're getting much more technology proficient, and they're demanding more efficiency. And they aren't going to pay these bills because it took 40 hours to create a budget because I sent you some bank statements. So they're going to demand it. And I think that I think it's a point of difference and it's a competitive advantage to be a family law firm that have the reputation, unfortunately, of too much money and too much waste, to become tech savvy, to be more efficient, to have a much better experience with their client, really have more productive conversations, and actually handle more cases because they're so much more agile.
And many of your younger clients are probably already using apps that sync their budget, you know, budgeting apps that are syncing automatically. And so they're used to this type of technology. And if you're not able to incorporate that into your practice, it's going to be very frustrating to them that, you know, they're being charged for an outdated way of doing something.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So then for the income and expense, the last tool we have is what we call a spending plan. And essentially what it does is it pulls in all of the data for each of the spouses, and then it allows you to create some scenarios moving forward. We're very committed to empowering spouses through this process. We really believe more empowered spouses, more informed spouses, more organized spouses can be better clients. And the truth is, better clients get a better outcome. It's much more enjoyable. I talk to so many family law professionals who really don't enjoy the process as much anymore because they're just bogged down with paperwork. But when they have one of those unique clients who is informed and organized and all the data, they have a much better experience and they can handle more cases. So this is a tool that really allows clients to become more empowered and to participate in thinking about settlements. What, for instance, you know, this is what I earn now, but in order to, after the divorce, I'm going to have more time, or I've gone from part-time to full-time, or I'm going to have to work less because I'll have the kids more. You can make some projections of what your earning will look like. and then what expenses you'll kind of own, so to speak, and then to get a sense as to how life will look like moving forward so that you can enter into a much more productive settlement. So that is the income and expense section. So we've done the family section, income and expense, asset and debt. This is so simple. This is the document repository, but I have to tell you, this is gold. And what's great about this, we all know as professionals, the emails and the document organization just is enough to make you crazy. And certainly there are tools like Dropbox, or if you're really organized, you've got all the folders. But the truth is, when you have a lot of cases and you're busy, the best thing is to have every document attached to every case. So here, you see up here, this is the case. With one click, you have every single piece of paper attached to this case. And everybody on the team has access to all of the data. So this is a transparent model. But what's great about it is you can create folders, you can name them anything. You can, we show you what file format you have, Excel, PDFs. The amazing thing is it's so simple, but I had a lawyer just the other day was telling me it changes his day-to-day so dramatically. Often you have a bank statement, a blended portfolio statement, let's say, that's got 7 bank accounts linked to it. All you do is upload it, and then you just attach it to each one of those accounts. So for instance, if I go to the asset here, and I go to this bank account, if I had updated and tagged it, here would be a bank account, and then it would be attached to every single bank account that is contained within it. So there's no more searching for all of the different documents. So when you upload it, you can attach it. You can have a medical expense for a child, and you just attach it to each one, a property, a utility, etc. So it's a very robust, feature-rich document repository. The client can upload, anybody can upload, but you can add a note. You can rename it. So those annoying scans that come in, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 IMG, nobody knows what it is. You can actually rename this document. And then if you rename it and download it, it holds on to the name. So we've really thought through and gotten a lot of feedback for all of the kind of functionality that we've added here. The last thing, actually, there are 2 more things I'm going to show. Do I have time? Oh, do I have time, Casey?
Yeah.
2 quick things? Okay, I'll be very, very quick. Case settings. We talk about this as a digital collaboration tool. This is really important. We're very transparent about who has access. We talked a little bit about security. This is multi-factor authentication. Nobody can get in here with a username, a password, and a cell phone code. But what's also important is everyone can see who has eyes on the case. So for instance, I'm the attorney. In this case, I haven't invited yet, but if I want to invite my client to collaborate, all I do is I input the email, they get an invitation and a link, and as soon as they hit the link, they open to their dashboard. If it's a mediated case or a collaborative case with transparency, you can have both spouses involved. Then you have a list of all the professionals. And you also, by the way, you can add privileges to your spouses and to professionals. You can say, I want this person to just have view-only privileges. Don't want them to touch anything. I just want them to look at the data, or I want them to be able to edit. So it's great for teams. It's great to pull in somebody to consult on taxes, and then you can terminate their access. Right. So this is one page. Everybody can see who's viewing the data. And the other thing I want to show very briefly is the parenting plan agreement. We're big believers in parenting plans. We use the word custody as infrequently as humanly possible. Yeah. Whenever possible, we much prefer a parenting plan. And this is a tool that can be used very much like I said in the beginning, we're very flexible. This can be used by 2 spouses to work together and then work with a professional. It can be, we've had mediators call us and say, we just spent 2 hours on Zoom with the mental health professional and the parenting plan expert and the mediator, and we built the whole agreement and how well that worked. So, or a client can just use it to kind of learn about a parenting plan and then meet with the professional. So it works in so many different ways. But essentially, we have all the categories from all the parenting plans we've gathered from around the country. They're pretty standard sections. Of course, you can customize them. We have taken each category and we've broken it into all the subcategories. So for instance, if I select all the subcategories here, there are 10 in communication. They may not all apply, so I can uncheck, but these are all the different subcategories within it. And then each one of these is editable. It could, we've put in very neutral language, but you can come in here and customize it and make it unique to you. So we're just giving you ideas here of how you can think about it. So again, education, you know, homework and special project supply, we talk about that. Childcare, you know, all the agreements on first right of refusal, those kinds of things.
Right.
Then once that's filled out, this isn't going to look great because I've only picked a few categories, but essentially here is your parenting plan. Right. We've selected these subcategories and here is the content. So that is the parenting plan tool.
So cool.
Okay, I think from timing perspective, I've pretty much hit my limit. There's a lot more I'd love to show you, but I think
this has been
does it.
This has been awesome. I think that just from this demo, you can see how lots of this very well. Say you are a divorce coach and your client hasn't hired any attorneys yet. You can invite the attorney to join the case once your client is attorney will as they start the case. I think it's a great way to come through your great way to distinguish your practice from other practices. This high-tech tool that there's another way to view this, which is that it's like a DI plus. They're not sure if it's right for them.
I think we've lost Casey, and I don't know if that means we've lost the recording. Oh, here she comes back.
Oh, I'm back. This internet connectivity problem is really an issue. All right, I'm back. Storey, what's the last thing I said that you heard?
To be honest, the last couple of sentences were very choppy.
Okay, so maybe I'll back up a little. Okay. So I think that if you want to keep track of clients coming through your office for initial consults, this is a great tool for that. You can store all the information you get in the consult so that when they call again several months later, it's all at your fingertips. They feel very cared for. I think that if you want to be attracting younger couples who have children and are in their, 40s and their 30s, this is going to be an obvious selling point for them that you're a technology savvy practice. This is a super user-friendly interface for clients to use. And I think you can also say to them, like, this allows you to do some of the heavy lifting on the admin front and save yourself a ton of money. I think one way to view it is it's almost like a DIY plus tool. So a lot of clients are very attracted to a DIY model, a do-it-yourself model, where they populate all the forms, they do everything online without a professional. But then when they get somewhere in the middle of that process, they realize they actually do need help. I think this can be sold as like, you get to take on a lot of the heavy lifting. You get to control how much of that you do. That really cuts down your expenses as a client, but you have the professional help that you really need to have the confidence in your settlement. And, you can collaborate with a financial advisor, a mediator, a lawyer, or a coach along the way. So it's a really great tool for lots of different types of professionals. I think one of the things we hear from people who have been in practice for quite a number of years is, I'm used to the way I'm doing things. It's hard to switch. I think that Storey is like very willing to do a little hand holding as you start using her platform and make you feel comfortable with it. But I think you'll also find that once you start using it, it's really simplistic and really user-friendly, and that the using it in your practice is going to streamline the admin part of your work so much that when your clients get the bill, it's a much more efficient bill. It makes sense to them. It feels like something that they're willing to pay, and they're more likely to recommend you in their mom group or their support group, or to a friend who's going through their own divorce. So this can really take your practice to the next level. This is the kind of software I was dying for while I was in active practice with clients. So I know I sound a bit like an evangelist here, but Divorceify is not getting paid to give this opinion. I just truly think this is great, and I really want as many people to try it out as possible. So Storey does give a week-long trial of the software free of cost, if that is of interest to you. I'm going to, when I send out the recording of this webinar, I am going to include her contact information so you can get in touch with her. I'm going to link you to a special page they've created for our professionals that's going to outline the offer and all of those things. And if you have any questions, I really encourage you to reach out to Storey with those specific questions. And her website also just has a lot of great content for people going through divorce. And I'm sure she's always looking for collaborators on content too. So really welcome you guys to embrace Dtour.life, get to know Storey. And if there's any way we can help make that connection, please let us know. Anything you want to add, Storey, before we sign off?
Just very quickly on pricing, I just want to say that actually for professionals, we do offer a 2-week free trial, which I think is important because you are busy and need more time.
Sure.
But also that, the way we have priced this software is to be incredibly very low pricing for you, because we are just trying to facilitate your practice.
Right.
And the truth is that it's caseload pricing. We recognize some of you just have a few cases, some of you have many cases. So it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about $5 to $8 a case a month is how the subscription goes. So we're very well reasonably priced just to support the workflow. Just wanted to mention that.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Storey, for giving us your time. And I'm sure I will be in touch with questions from our professional community. And hopefully we can have you back in a few months and do this again.
Great, Casey. I'd love it. Thanks so much. It's always great to be with you.
Thank you. And thank you for bearing with us as we went through this national internet shortage. I don't know what's going on, but thank you for everybody who hung in there. Okay. All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too. Thanks. Bye.